So, as of the recording of this, the Wii U and 3DS have shut down. And I want to express how I feel about that. Because to be honest, it's sad to see. Granted, I guess I didn't really expect them to keep them online as long as they did. And honestly, probably those servers were actually losing Nintendo money due to how many people purchased the Wii, which isn't a lot. I'll show something on screen. It makes sense that they shut down. I'm surprised it took them this long, but it's sad to see. And I wanted to talk about it. The Wii U was my first ever new gaming console. I had the original Xbox as a hand-me-down, and I had a Game Boy Advance again as a hand-me-down. I had gotten a 3DS, but that's a handheld device and not really considered a home console. The Wii U, though, was my first console, and I had gotten it specifically my first Wii U because I've owned two over the course of my life. My second Wii U, that one was later, but way later, and I have it with me at my dorm. But my first Wii U, it was the Skylanders bundle, and it came with Skylanders. I had at some point, I'm pretty sure I had Super Mario 3D World also with it. I pretty much had a few games, and honestly, and those were what I started off with, and I slowly built my collection. I'm going to talk about the 3DS later because that one I have a lot more to talk about, or rather, I have a lot more to talk about. But you know what? I'm just starting with the Wii U because the Wii U is the Wii U, and it doesn't really get talked about enough. The Wii U was an underrated console. I don't think it was the greatest of all time or supremely underrated, but I think it was underrated for its time. It really was Nintendo's first step into the next generation of gaming, which, yeah, without it, we wouldn't have a Switch. It might not have been the best console, but it was one of my favorites. It's where I made my first online friend group with on Minecraft Wii U Edition, ironically enough. Some of those friends I kept in contact with, some I've lost contact with, and others we've had falling outs, and we ended up growing apart because of that. And I don't really regret any of it, though. The Wii was one of my favorite consoles, and I'm sad to see it shut down. That one honestly carries a lot more meaning than the 3DS to an extent. Now onto the 3DS, I guess. The 3DS. Where did I begin with that console? It was my first new handheld, similar to the Wii U being my first actual new console. My parents had gotten me a Game Boy Advance SP, and they said if I could prove that I could take care of that, they would get me a 3DS. And my first three games were Mario 3D Land, Super Mario 3D Land, I should say, Sonic Generations, and Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games. And also Mario Kart very soon after. And I built my collection over the years, but those were my first three games on the 3DS, and my god. Were they some of my favorites? There's still some favorites. I haven't revisited them in a long time, and I want to, though. It's kind of hard, well, at least with London 2012 and Mario. The main reason why I haven't revisited them is because I just didn't really. Not that I didn't really want to. It's just that I kind of can't. While I was able to get Sonic Generations digitally, they're maybe not the best means. The other games I have not, and I own the cartridges though. I just haven't really been able to use them because my card slot is kind of and I would need a whole replacement 3DS in order to fix that. But anyways, yeah, though 3DS it honestly carries a lot of meaning for me because it was I would always love playing it, playing with my sister because for the longest time my family didn't have Wi-Fi. I only got access to the internet in middle school, meaning meaning I was like 12, 11 years old when I finally got access to internet and such, which for all intents and purposes, honestly, it's not that bad of a time to get access to the internet, being 11 or 12 years old. I mean, I wasn't really allowed to really browse the web after I got a bunch of viruses on the family computer while playing Flash games, specifically Final Fantasy Sonic X and that one Flash game of with Selka Doom or whatever his name is, and also seeing like those Mario Flash animations, that one animation thing where you could use the sprites and you could place down a bunch of them and stuff. You might know what I'm talking about, you might not. But I didn't really play online, so it was just me and my sister really, and us two trying to beat each other's scores and stuff. 3DS was one of my favorite consoles, honestly, though. I loved playing it. It was, and as much as it sucks to see both of them go. Both the Wii U and 3DS were my childhoods. They were they meant a lot to me. I'm glad that people are preservating the online services, making new servers and such to replace the ones that Nintendo is shutting down. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate that, but I obviously know that it's not going to be the same. That for all intents and purposes, my childhood is kind of dead, and I can't really go home to it. Part of my childhood's gone. Not to say I'm not grateful for the time I had with the Wii U and 3DS. I had stopped playing online years ago as my friends all slowly but surely went offline. They stopped playing the Wii U as much. I lost contact with them because of it, and that was what became of all of us. I lost contact, and I was able to boot up my Wii U while in my dorm. I need a charger for it currently, which is why I wasn't able to be on for its last final days. But they all eventually just slowly dispersed. All slowly, they all slowly left until none of my original friends were on. Sure, I had friends, but they weren't really people I was close with. They weren't the ones that I had made memories with. They were more so acquaintances. No offense to them at all. They're nice people, nonetheless. But yeah, as years went by, we slowly went offline, and now it's kind of over, isn't it? I, I remember modding my Wii U, trying out different mods in Minecraft, being able to use essentially pretty much hack my like use mods on the game and be able to like do funny things with it and such on the Minecraft Wii U edition. It's like competitive, like competitive servers. That is funny, honestly. Thing to call it, but yeah, that's what it was pretty much. I remember so much from that era, and just kind of sad to see it all go. I'm gonna miss the Wii U and such. I know I can still always go online thanks to Pretendo, and I know I can always find friends to play still, but it's never gonna be quite the same. I think I think there's a phrase that perfectly describes the feeling I'm feeling. You can never go home. I forget where I found it at, but it was brought up to me by a YouTuber who was making a Batman Arkham Knight video. The phrase, "You can never go home." I think I think it perfectly describes what this is like. Because much as I want to go back to how things were at one point, I can't. That part of my life is over. That part of my childhood is gone, and it's not coming back. I'm grateful for the memories, though. I'm grateful for the times I had fun. I'm grateful that the Wii U got me into gaming in general. I'm glad that the 3DS. eh, well, the 3DS introduced me to gaming, but the Wii U, that's what introduced me to having friends online. And those friends helped me get through some of the hardest points in my life. When I was getting bullied severely in middle school, which I know some people probably, even though I know some people would argue, oh, you weren't, like, some people might argue, oh, you weren't bullied, because trust me, people that tried arguing that to me in the past, and then they revoked those statements later, which, that's a whole thing, but yeah, honestly, if it weren't for the friends I had there, I probably was going to grow up a lot more lonely. I'm grateful for the Wii U, and I'm grateful for the memories. I'm gonna miss it though. I'm gonna miss the Wii U, I'm gonna miss those memories dearly. I'm just gonna have to keep them in my heart though, aren't I? Keep them there and treasure them. Because, to put simply, I can never go home.